Hello and good afternoon. This trial's moving way faster than I expected, and like any good junkie, I could not stay away.
How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Are you
Um,
traveling tomorrow?
Now I have a flight in about 2 hours, so you have me for maybe 25 minutes, and then I
Nice.
gotta get the hell out of here.
Well, hopefully they get started again then quickly.
What is this case?
So this is the penalty phase of the Aaron Dean trial.
Oh shoot, they're actually running it today. I
Yeah, and
thought
they're
they
going
wouldn't
they're
do
going
that
fast.
until next week.
Nope, they're going fast too. State rested earlier this morning already, and then the defense already called their first witness, who was two witnesses. Called some guy from his church that was a little weird, like didn't really help him that much, and
Okay.
then um, and then they called the probation officer because obviously they're going for probation on this.
I think that. So remind me again, is this death eligible? I all of this.
No, manslaughter's not death eligible.
So he's got the okay. So manslaughter is 2 to 20,
Yep,
and they're trying to get a jury to run it probably less than 10.
yep.
Okay.
That's my thought. I mean, it seemed a little bit sincere in going for the manslaughter though. Or going for manslaughter, going for probation.
I actually think that. So can he actually be eligible? Because you did the research probably more than I have.
Well, so I read two to what I read is 2 to 20, but I don't know if that means that you can't have a downward departure from that. And I also don't know if you can, maybe they sentence him to 3 years. What do they
Suspended
call it?
sentence.
3 years suspended and put him on probation or something like that.
So
Uh,
that might be what that actually makes a lot more sense because I know we were talking about it the other night, and that sort of downward departure or suspended sentence makes sense
I think
given
so too.
the circumstances. So that might be another reason why going for the jury actually makes sense, because if they came to a uh, divided conclusion, and that could be part of the negotiations that occurred.
Yeah.
It's when we go to the sentencing phase, we're
Uh,
going to downward depart to a suspended verdict.
yeah. Because the jury's well aware that they're going to be part of the sentence phase, or
Or
that they could be.
they can be.
That they could be, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's some that might make sense. As folks come in, some other news is we know.
And by the way, I am absolutely going to have to run because I do have a flight at about 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
I mean Aaron Dean's important, but you can't miss your flight. um, yeah. And so then, did you hear what went on this morning?
now, what is this?
So after the verdict, the mayor went out and talked. The family members, or like people close to the family members, went on Good Morning America, and a city councilman. So a mayor released a press release, and a city councilman actually did live interviews. All three of whom were still under gag order. So,
Oh my God.
so we got contempt hearings on Monday.
Oh, and the judge actually imposed contempt?
Yep. So the city councilman is definitely going to have a contempt hearing on Monday because it's his second violation of this judge's gag order. And I guess there was a previous judge on the case. Oh yeah, man, all my cases are bleeding together. There was definitely the previous judge on the case, who got removed because of bias. Also, he violated the gag order once under that judge too. Oh, we're live here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this case has everything, man.
All right. So if around 3:30 my time, I got a dip.
Okay.
I got a dip.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Ah, my pleasure.
So I would imagine his bond got revoked last night, right?
You had to have thought.
So he had to spend.
Down,
Yeah, so he had to spend the
he
night in jail.
spent the night in jail.
Yeah. Oh, okay. See, this chat is awesome. I used to be the guy in the chat that knew everything, and now that I have to spend all my time like making sure that I have broadcast ready and stuff like that, the chat knows way more than me. So the contempt hearings are going to be on January 4th.
When you have extremely intelligent chat, they have a way of informing you before you even know.
I love it. First says safe travels.
I'll live, hopefully.
I like this. I'm gonna steal this phrase, the Goldilocks trial. It's a Goldilocks verdict.
That's what I said from the beginning, though.
Yeah.
That manslaughter charge really was a Goldilocks decision.
It was, for sure. Yeah,
nobody had the stones to actually stand by it and hang the jury.
Nope. That's what that bothers me, but
because you know that there was half on each side.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, it was like 9-3 or whatever.
Yep. And so to make themselves feel more comfortable, they were willing to put a guy away in jail for potentially a long time.
I hate that concept.
Yep, I do too. In most of life, I'm all about compromise, right? Most of life, you got to compromise with folks.
I'm a civil attorney.
You compromise all the time.
But there are certain circumstances where if you're going to take away somebody's freedom for the rest of their life,
you don't compromise. Obviously, folks still do, but oh, and then so in our Angela Hawk trial, judge was very succinct in his not guilty decision this morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, and after hearing closing arguments last night, and then his decision, I am 100% on board that it was the right decision.
Good.
It's a terrible situation. I could still see filing charges against the mom, which they never will, but I don't think filing charges against it or finding that nurse guilty shouldn't call her a nurse. Finding that midwife guilty was not the right thing.
We talked about this before. I have a huge issue of criminalizing professional negligence in any capacity.
And that's that was one of the things that the judge said. He's like, he said this is not a civil negligence case. So therefore, I have to look at this. Everybody involved tried their best to keep that kid alive, that baby alive, and therefore I have to find out guilty.
I don't want to talk over the court, but I think that is fantastic.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, after listening to closing arguments, thinking through, I agree. I was starting to get swayed. The emotional testimony and her sheer incompetence
You can raise your right hand for me. You solemnly
was
swear or affirm this cause to be the truth.
was bothering me. But the defense did a really good job of asking questions that I wasn't even really picking up. Like I'm like, that seems like a bad argument. That seems like a bad argument. Until you saw how they weaved the answers they got into their closing argument.
It's so
Her name is
weaving.
Gail Armstrong.
I said like that defendant or that defense attorney
I
is
am
very much
semi-retired
more
from
similar to
Grand
my
Rapids,
style
so
of how I
I
ask
have
questions.
Mm-hmm.
worked with my husband
You
in
weave the
self-employment,
web
homeschooled 4
and
children,
you let them fall into it.
and have stayed very busy.
You help your husband with his business?
So
Yes.
her name is Gail Armstrong.
He tunes and repairs pianos. We were on my ministry,
3 o'clock.
and he also sings concerts at.
Right. I probably have to.
Dude, don't miss your flight.
Yeah, I probably have to call my car and
I was born here, raised
give me
here,
a
and I'm still
second.
here.
I'll stick around as long as I possibly can.
Okay.
And I'll dip out.
I do. That is Aaron Dean.
How do you know Aaron?
I met Aaron when he was 12 years old. He, their family began to attend a church that we were in. We also home educated as well as his family, and we had started a choir, Metroplex wide, for those kiddos. And so Aaron became a member of that when he was 13, which would have been, so I guess I've known him about 26 years.
So the plot twist I wasn't really ready for, y'all, is how much homeschooling would play a role in the testimony today.
Homeschool network?
Yes,
And has there been a period of time when y'all have gone to church together?
yes, we actually helped start a church with his family and then continued on for another 12 or so years in the same church.
And where was that church located?
We started a church in Mansfield Family Church, and then from there we attended Fair Park Baptist Church in Crowley. And my husband was minister of music and youth at the last church I mentioned.
And was Aaron?
I have nothing against religion, but I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yes,
The religious homeschool
Did he have anything to do
tone that this is taking is I don't think
yes,
it's
he was a member
helpful.
of the choir. Now, the
Again, and I
homeschool
don't have
choir,
anything
we
personal
met
against
in the
either. I
conference on
just
Sundays, so a couple
I
times
know
we did that.
perceptions,
Over the course
and I don't think it's
of
helpful.
the 19 years that we had that choir, Aaron was probably there most of that time until he graduated from college, because we went from high school choir to college of career.
No, this just sounds like someone he's known for a long time. This is not his mom.
That's one group,
Correct.
and then the church choir is actually a different group.
Well, the church itself, yes, The different ministries, there was things that at the church that were separate from that choir. The choir we had took tours on a yearly basis all over the country, so depended on young men to load the suitcases and open the doors.
Oh, this court feed sucks compared to that other court. The other trial we were watching, the Angela Hawk trial, had a much
With
better
sound
feed.
equipment. And then, like I said, when we do, there was always setup, chairs and things to move at the church that would not normally be there, or there places that we would rehearse. And then, like I said, when we would go anywhere, we had to carry equipment. Aaron was always there to help set up and load whatever we needed.
So what kind of a guy did you come to know Aaron to be?
Aaron's he's a great guy. He led by example. Of course, he's been raised to be that way. But I just have a couple of circumstances I really remember when we were, say, loading up buses, and as young men have a tendency to do, they would become distracted, and he would kind of lead the crew. but he was never demonstrative about that. He's like, hey, we got more to do, but he would do that while he was doing it. He definitely led by leadership and just coaching, the younger guys as he got older.
Unfortunately, that's getting a little close to that whole
He
domineering narrative they
he
were
always
spinning.
did
I mean, I
what
don't
we
think that
asked
means
him to
domineering, but
do. And if we needed something done, he would ask if he could help with that. He's very skilled musically. And so there were times when my husband couldn't do a rehearsal. Aaron would step in.
I love it.
He'd ask what he could do and what he
It
should
would be
do,
totally inappropriate,
and
but I
did
could see him doing
exactly
it.
what my husband's name is Craig, so exactly what Craig could do. And you know what? I was talking to somebody the other day. I said,
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
Suspended. Do you have another example that you'd like to share with the group?
yes, as we were had the church, the young people would go and play outside quite a bit, and it was rollerblading time.
It
one thing I
100%
always
does.
admired about Aaron was that now we have
The
four
first thing I
daughters.
thought of is, well, the state
Three
had a
biological
homeschool witness
and
too.
one is mixed race that we adopted. So he was always the gentleman that even though there was a goal line for the race, if someone fell, he would stop and pick them up. So Aaron was always had other people in consideration for what he was doing.
You told me about a time when you all needed some fence repair, and Aaron assisted with that.
Yes, just recently we made a move to relocate from my East Fort Worth home where I actually grew up in, and my husband's health.
They needed to play
issues
way
didn't
more
allow
into
him
the
to
helping
set
people
T-post.
thing.
I said,
Unfortunately, the
"Oh,
other
I
character
was gonna
witness
do
that
it, and
he
I
went to
needed
church
help."
with and played music
So
with
I tagged Aaron.
he was
thought
like,
he
yeah,
did
I don't
help
really
me
have any
put
examples
this
when he
fence up.
helped
Of course,
people.
He actually put the fence up, and I kind of helped him, which I will never do again. Fencing is not my deal now. But Aaron worked relentlessly to do that for us, and he had other things he had to stop work for, and he would go do that, and he would be there either early in the morning or stay late at night to get the job done. And straight.
My sense in this, like,
It's pretty accurate.
this is the best that they have. This is the most that they have to work with.
He finishes the jobs he starts.
Yes, I mean, whether that was my fence or whether it was
The best case
working in the
scenario for
music
them would be
programs that we had.
bring in 3 other police officers.
There
Hopefully,
was never a time
know,
that we couldn't count on
higher
Aaron
ups
finishing or
to
doing what
testify
he
on
said
his
he would
behalf,
do.
and I don't see that happening. I mean, they might finish it off with that, but that would be much better than this.
Always. We've worked with probably between our church work and the choir well over.
The man of
1,000
God
people.
narrative,
And
well, great, and for
I never observed a roll of the eyes from Aaron. He's always been respectful and even to other people courteous. He's the door opener.
Is he a rule follower?
Yes, very much so. That comes with partly with completing his jobs too, but I don't.
This is not
recall
helping.
Ever him challenging me, which I know that. I mean, most of y'all would know when a husband's doing a job, there's a wife somewhere. And I dealt a lot with the young people, and never had an opportunity to ask him to complete something that he had started. And when we take young people on choir tours from Washington, D.C. to New York, and we have teenagers, one time 150, you get a lot of opportunities for young people to challenge the rules.
No,
But
I agree with you, Ms. Friss.
Aaron was always on top of what he needed to be doing.
No, this is a Fort Worth, Texas jury, so religion probably plays
Boys and girls?
a little better to some.
Yes, and amazingly so, it's not like we had a real lot of boys. We had a pretty equal amount of boys and girls, young women, 13 to 18 on most of our tours.
Yeah. The goal here should be coming across as a very humble, as someone completely dedicated to public service who made a
No.
mistake.
Not at all. He's very
Unfortunately, he's a
graceful,
rookie on the
very
police force, so
courteous in
it's hard to play that whole 15-year
we
veteran
asked
of the police
or
force
needed him to
serving the
do.
public card.
Not pushy at all.
I kind of just think this is the best they have.
Egotistical?
I wouldn't describe him as egotistical. I would say Aaron has strived to be accurate and know what he needed to do.
See, she's even kind of hedging on the
when we gave him
egotistical
a
question.
job, but not egotistical.
This is not playing well.
Felt he was superior to other people?
No, I wouldn't say so.
I'm hearing this, but you want to recap
And
it
other
for a
people
second?
looked to him
Yeah, so this
to
is just
find
a
what was they might need to do.
lady that was in his church growing
But
up.
as far as
The chat is all over the same
Well,
sentiment that I have of
he's
like
a very approachable, humble young man.
so the plot twist none of us saw coming was religious homeschooling has played a lot and has played a pretty big role today. I think you remember me telling you about his incident in college where he was arrested for misdemeanor assault. That was perpetrated on a woman or girl who had been in college since she was 14 years old.
Yes, sir.
Because she was homeschooled and was ready for college at 14.
Child.
I would say
But she was
I am
18 at the time of the
sympathetic,
incident.
but I am not.
Okay.
But she was like the founder of homeschool graduates of UAT.
Jesus.
And
Absolutely.
Aaron was a member of that homeschool graduates club at college.
All right.
And
Sermon
that's
on the Mount?
where it happened. And now
I'm
his
not certain
witnesses
of
have
the Sermon on
started
the Mount.
talking about homeschooling. So it's just making us all recall right back to that
I think Pharisees might have asked that.
fairly bad incident that the state was able to
Maybe.
Wait, hang
show
on.
the jury.
Like, this is a 14, 18?
She was 18 at the time of the incident,
Okay.
but she started college at
Part of
14.
an understanding
Not saying that that's
is
okay,
that we serve
No,
a God of
but it's
love
way
and
better.
mercy and forgiveness.
but it's
And we
different
are
in terms of
expected
legal
to
analysis.
Be Christ-like. So I don't know that eye for an eye always applies.
And I'll be honest, like the incident came across as
No,
a young, inexperienced
I think the Bible
college kid
defers
trying to
several
have
things.
game and just completely backfiring.
There is unjustly, and then there's a
Yeah.
time that, as in the
I can
scripture,
see
it
that.
talks about.
But it didn't play well to
there's
the
a
jury.
time to kill,
I mean,
a time to, you know,
it looked bad.
doesn't play
There are
well at all.
situations
It looked bad.
Not
God allows us
appropriate
to-
at all.
exert.
No, it was not appropriate.
You don't agree with this jury's verdict, do you?
I don't know that I don't
All right,
agree.
I'm gonna have to
I know
dip
that a
out.
tragic thing happened
so I
and a
can
young
make my
woman
flight.
lost her life.
Yep. Travel safe, man. Have a good holiday.
Yeah, you as well. And we'll keep in touch. And whatever comes up in the future,
I need
I'll be
to.
available.
Awesome. Yeah, there's
we are
plenty
in
of
a
travels starting
court of law,
beginning of the year.
and
So
laws
I'll
give
keep
in
us
touch.
guidance, and I think
safe travels,
that,
man.
So safe to you,
There are certain
and
ways that he should be held accountable.
all the best in the chat.
Do you want me to continue? I can't
Sure,
tell.
yes, please.
Okay. So, given the law, as Christians, since you deferred to that, we are to submit to the authorities of the law, and there are things that we must go by.
And so if this jury found him guilty, then this jury should punish him, isn't that correct?
I think the jury has a responsibility now to make a decision accordingly.
But it's their decision to punish them, isn't it?
It is.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Read the record.
Dude.
Nothing further, Judge.
And Ms. Armstrong be excused subject to any potential recall.
No objection from the state.
Thank you, ma'am.
So the good news on this penalty phase for Aaron Dean is that the jury has probably already made up their mind. They were fairly close to the punishment that they wanted to give when finding him guilty. For his sake, I hope so, because penalty phase is not going well for him. His character witnesses are like hedging to an extent. This looks really not good. Hey, if you haven't already done so, please hit that like button. Make sure this gets out at least to the
Please, sir.
folks that know about us and all that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. I'm sure you all already have, and I appreciate it. Make sure you hit those notifications too, so when I
Solemnly swear or affirm
the
testimony
trial
you give in
junkie
this
and he
court
takes
is true
over and I
nothing but the truth.
go live on a whim,
Have a seat.
you get notified.
Rule procedures in effect says you cannot be
Okay,
in court unless you
this-
testify once you have.
He looks like he might be a police officer.
With anybody else except the lawyer.
He needs several police officers.
First and last name and spell it for the court report, please.
First name Thomas, Thomas. Last name is Dugan, Dugan.
Mr. Gill.
Mr. Dugan, how are you occupied or employed?
Employed by the Fort Worth Department. I'm a detective in the West Side General Assignment.
So you're a Fort Worth Police Department officer, you're assigned to the West Side area, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm a detective.
And then, detective, you said you are assigned to what's called general assignments.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
Basically, we have certain departments for homicide, robbery, things like that. We get
No, it definitely
anything
could.
from
I was being a little
some
flippant, or
burglarized, retail theft, Target.
and I don't think this is as big of a disaster as it could be, because the crime and the situation of the crime is going to play hugely in the jury's mind. But
Yes, sir.
this isn't helping, and it could definitely make it worse. It could.
Since I got promoted in March of 2019.
So this is a police officer. I'll be quiet so we can hear him a bit.
I was a patrol officer. My whole career, I did all of my time on the east side of Fort Worth on midnights.
How long were you?
Did all my time. It's a weird way to say it.
Approximately 8 years.
So during those 8 years, would it be a fair statement that you were a commissioned law enforcement officer serving the citizens of Fort Worth?
Yes, sir.
Were you ever assigned a field training officer?
Yes, sir.
What does a field training officer do?
I would train officers once they graduate the academy.
So once an officer graduates an academy, they go through an additional series of trainings, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is there more than one phase to field training?
Yes, sir. I don't know exactly how they do it now. It's constant. But there were 3 phases. The first phase, second phase, third phase. Each phase is 4. Third phase, then they do what they call ghost phase, which I believe they still do, and that was
I think this might be actually
where
be appealable,
their
just because it
field
was
training officer
so
was in
far
front of
along
us
in the future,
with them,
or so
training
long ago.
calls, that they could, evaluate.
Normally, it would be totally fine to bring that in, but it was so long ago that I could see it being an issue.
What were you trying to accomplish?
Depending on the phase that they were in, just try to help them along, make sure that they were up to standard with, how far along they were. For example, if I had a first phase rookie right out of the academy, I would hope that they could find the place that they were going to, call them, that they were dispatched to, without killing us, and be able to talk to the people, take notes, get good information. It's basic stuff. Write a good report, communicate well with people, things like that. First phase is pretty basic. Second phase, which is, I believe, is what I had with Aaron. I honestly don't recall. Second phase is a little bit more. You're expected to investigate a little bit further. What did I miss on this call? Well, you missed.
Yeah, and to be clear, they knew it was coming because it was a big argument whether or not that was going to come in at the
what's going on, what they're doing
in the guilt phase,
third phase,
which
so on.
would have been very appealable if it would have. But of course, the judge didn't. It is probably appropriate here. Most all as it would be. It was just so long ago. It's kind of weird.
Yes, sir.
If I would have the judge, I would have probably left it
You
out.
know the gentleman over here 2 seats to my right.
Yes, I do.
Who is that?
It's Aaron Dean.
But yes, generally speaking, prior bad acts are absolutely admissible in the penalty phase.
Were you Aaron Dean's field training officer at one point?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember approximately when that was?
I believe it was in 2018 sometime. I'm not sure. I believe it was 2018.
Would it be a fair statement that as a field training officer, you have supervised and trained a number of different local police officers?
Yes, sir.
Some better than others.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what phase of field training you were assigned to Aaron?
As I said, I wouldn't stake my life on it. I believe it was second phase.
Dude, stop talking about your
I
life,
don't believe it was
bro.
first phase, and I recall him being in another phase after I had, I think on day shift, but like I said, I believe it was second phase.
So would this have occurred on the east division of Fort Worth?
Our training, yes, sir.
And approximately how long a period of time does these phases of field training last?
4 weeks.
So approximately a month?
Yes.
Would you be
No,
with
but
the
it's just not
officer
really. It's just me being
field
sensitive to the
training
fact they
entire shift?
just referred to death like a couple times.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I give it, take, a few minutes here and there at the sector or something like that. But yeah, generally the whole shift we're together. Like on calls out, yes.
How did you find Aaron to be as a field trainee?
For the phase that I had him, specifically, like I can't recall any specific call that we were on.
Oh,
as I mentioned,
God.
you mentioned, I had countless rookies that I trained. So, but nothing ever stood out to me that there was any issue. If there were issues, they were documented.
You want people coming on who remember great things about you, not that don't specifically remember bad things about you.
Kids coming out of the
Good
they're
Lord.
20-nothing years old.
He's going to end up in jail for 20
They
years.
know everything. Aaron was very humble. He wasn't that way. Doing what we do, we generally have to have thick skin, so we kind of give each other a hard time a lot in the department, but especially with rookies. And he took all the joking around very, very well in stride and didn't get his feelings hurt. He was very humble and a good sport throughout all that. So I do recall that.
Would it be a fair statement that you don't remember exactly all these calls that you went on with him, but certainly there were some you certainly had to counsel him and correct him on some of his methods, is that right?
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't recall specifically, but with what we do, you can't know everything. You can graduate the academy. I remember when I graduated the academy and my first shift out after field training, honestly, I thought I have a gun in a car, like a police car. People are going to call me to their house expecting me to know what to do. Like, it's very overwhelming. So there's no way you're going to learn everything and know everything. So there's going to be correction, first phase, second phase, third. You're going to continue going throughout your entire career. So yeah, there were probably things that I corrected him on, but I don't recall what they were. And I do remember that everything that I did speak with him about, that he was receptive.
Did he seem to take in what you told him?
Yes, sir.
And did he seem to learn from the direction you gave him and adjust his methods accordingly?
Yes. Yeah, he wanted to learn. He's a smart guy. So he's very analytical. You know, everything I told him, I do remember him being like, you know, he was just trying to learn and, you know, apply everything. So.
And that's the whole purpose of field training, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
To take the academy graduate and continue to prepare them to be a functional Fort Worth police officer.
Yes, sir.
And he was receptive to the direction that you gave him. Is that right?
Yes.
Did he ask questions?
Yes.
Did they, to you, did they seem to be appropriate questions?
I don't recall. I mean, I know he's because all. But as I said, I perceived him to be very, you know, into the nuts and bolts of things, so to speak. He would want to know why we do this, or not just, okay, this is the way we do it. Well, why do we do it this way, kind of thing.
Did you, from dealing with him, did you come to learn that he had previously worked as an engineer?
I did know that.
Did that seem to fit the way he approached the job?
Yes.
I don't know if I'd want an engineer as a cop.
So you mentioned a few minutes ago that part of the job is training the officers to interact with the public.
Yes, sir.
Is interaction with the public a big part of being a police officer?
Yes, sir. Probably the biggest.
Okay, are they?
And how
So what I've read is he has some
He did well.
reviews that say he doesn't interact with the public very well. So I'm wondering if this opens the door to that.
Not that he did a bad job.
Or maybe
Most
the door would have already been open.
Whatever it is that you're doing.
So they're just trying to get ahead of
They
it.
want to know
Yeah, the
that
door
you
would have already been
are
open. They're just
listening
getting ahead of that.
And so everyone's built different. You know, not everybody's a people person. I didn't perceive Aaron to be a people person.
Oh God.
You know, maybe I perceived him to be a little nervous. I didn't know what it was, but I know that was probably one of the areas that he struggled with is, you know, interacting with people. And it was just the way, I believe it was just the way he's made.
I just don't understand how they let this guy be a cop.
Was he compassionate towards the needs of others?
Absolutely.
And at the end of the 30-day phase, are you called upon as a field training officer to either pass the person on to the next phase or make other recommendations?
Yes, sir. Throughout the process, there's, I want to say there were weekly meetings with the supervisors. You know, hey, how are things this week? And we'll have a little meeting off. It's a weekly basis, and then at the end, you know, I would recommend either they could repeat the phase, you know, the entire phase, make recommendations from there, or, you know, recommend that they go on to the next phase.
And over the course of your duties as a field training officer, were there trainees that you recommended repeat the phase that you were training them on?
Yes.
What did you do with Aaron?
I recommended he go on to the next phase.
Did you do so?
Yes, sir.
Have you and Aaron kept in touch since you were his field training officer?
Yes, sir.
In fact, have you kept in touch with him after the event that we're here about today?
Yes.
Did you talk to him soon after? What was his demeanor at that time?
He was, I mean, as you can imagine, he was pretty torn. I remember that I was out somewhere with family and got a call from him. And yeah, he was pretty devastated.
Absolutely.
Cross-examination.
Yes, just briefly. You just talked about reaching out and keeping in touch with you. What did he tell you had happened about in this particular case?
He didn't give specifics, and I didn't want to ask. He basically said, hey, you know, I was involved in a shooting last night. I don't remember exactly what he said. I do recall not wanting to ask just because I've been on scene and involved in certain things, and I never wanted to ask an officer, you know, about that right off the bat. I just didn't feel comfortable doing that, and I didn't know how he would react to it, so I kind of just was there to listen to whatever he said.
Okay, over the last 3 years, have you guys talked about what happened?
No, not in detail. I've asked him about the case, how things are going, things like that. I never initiated that kind of stuff with him because I figured he talked about it enough with his lawyers and family. Then whenever I would talk to him, it was kind of like a escape. You know, we did lunch a few times, I think, and talked about meaningless things, sports and whatnot.
Do you want to know?
Do I want to know what?
Do you want to know what happened?
I have an idea of what happened, but I don't know the facts of everything of the case now.
Well, sure, because you weren't able to sit in here in the last few weeks, correct?
No, I was not here. I mean,
And you haven't reviewed any evidence in the case, correct?
just what I saw on TV.
Right.
It's a good cross.
On TV isn't evidence, but as far as what the actual evidence and the facts of this case, you haven't had the opportunity like the jury has, correct?
You're correct. Excuse me.
And there's been various witnesses that have testified, and you haven't had the benefit of hearing them, correct?
No, like you said, just what I saw on TV.
And when you talked about the training, so overall, you have supervised him and watched him as a police officer for a total of about 4 weeks, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then after that, he went on to be on the street as a patrol officer for another 18 months or so before this happened?
Yes, ma'am. After the next phases of training, then he was cut loose to be, yes, an officer on the street.
Never observed his conduct, interactions with folks after your 4 weeks with him, right?
I believe that to be correct. Yes, ma'am.
And you said he's not a people person, that's just the way that he's made, right?
That's the way I perceived him. Like I said, I was with him for a month.
Yeah.
Not that long.
Yes, ma'am.
And when we talked about the academy, you certainly went to the
They're not a
academy,
people person
correct?
thing.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not good.
And in the academy, there are different training scenarios that you go through in order to determine, just try to teach people what to do and what not to do, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times those training scenarios that are in the academy are based off real life cases. And
Yes,
you know
ma'am.
that, right?
Yes.
And to be fair, typically it's when things went really bad or wrong, right?
In the academy, most of the scenarios are set out that way. Yes.
Sure. Something happened and it went south, and how do we avoid that from happening again, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because in a controlled environment, that's the opportunity that we have. We're outside of the streets. We have all these field training officers, all these training supervisors, so that this thing never happens again, correct?
When cross is
That's the
longer
goal.
That's the goal.
than the direct
right?
of your character witness, you have a
Harm, but that's
problem.
both officers and the public, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. And are you aware that this particular scenario that occurred on October the 12th of 2019 is now utilized in the Fort Worth Police Department Academy to train against this not ever happening again?
Oh,
I was
shit.
aware of that now.
I'm going to pass the way to Sean.
In the academy during training, what are you taught to do if someone points a firearm at
Well, I perceive that to be a deadly threat,
you? And how do you react to that deadly threat?
to eliminate the threat.
Pass the witness.
Stinger,
Nothing further on.
made Detective. Dixon.
That was actually really good rehab.
For the recall.
No objection from the stage.
You may.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
That was some good lawyering there. Great cross, a smarter rehab than I would have initially thought of. That he didn't go back to dwell on any of the points she scored. Scored new points on this may have been a terrible verdict.
Mr. Gill?
Overall, not good for the defense.
Donna Dean. Yes, that's right.
So I think this is his mom. These are hard. Almost as bad as the victim.
Would you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, help you God. Have a seat, please.
Freddie Freeman has a chin though, doesn't he?
Mr. Gill?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Would you tell the jury your name, please?
I'm Donna Dean.
Kara, are you an Atlanta Braves fan or just a baseball fan in general?
Aaron's mother?
Yes, I am.
And would you tell the jury what your immediate family consists of, please?
My husband and I have been married for 46 years, and we have 6 children. This is a daughter, and then 4 sons and a younger daughter. 2 sons are married, and we have 4 grandchildren.
Would you tell us the names of your children, starting from oldest to youngest?
Ashley, Aaron, Andrew, Austin, Adam, Alyssa.
Oh God.
Are several of the kids here today?
Yes, they are.
And could you tell us your husband's name?
Larry.
Is he here today also?
He is, yes.
And have you all been present here for most of the trial?
And did
Yes,
Larry
we have
did Larry have a role in Home Alone?
Begin with A.
Yes, sir.
That didn't happen by accident, did it?
No, the first 2 were kind of like, we like those names, and then after that, we just said, hey, this is the pattern, we'll just keep it up.
Have they ever been referred to as the A team?
6 A's usually, that's what they're referred to.
6 a-holes.
Where is Aaron in the chronology of children?
He's the second born.
So he has an older sister, Ashley, and then it was Aaron. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So how old is Aaron today?
Aaron is 38.
And was Aaron and the rest of your kids, were they all raised here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yes, yes.
And primarily where?
In Arlington.
Was Aaron born in Arlington?
Yes.
They pretty much lived in Arlington? Where did the kids go to school?
We homeschooled our children all the way through high school.
So you were the school mom for 6 kids?
Yes, sir.
So were you a stay-at-home mom then?
Yes. I was formerly a nurse, but I was staying home with my children once they were born.
Was that about the time the kids started getting to school age, you decided to stay home?
Yeah, a little bit earlier, but yeah.
So what kind of work did Larry do?
If I could
for many
ever
years,
interview Aaron
self-employed
Dean, the first thing I would ask him is, what in the
doing
hell
this,
compelled
my
you?
biggest primary clients are small businesses.
What made you
for
go
IT
want to be a cop?
Yeah.
Like everything I've ever
I
wanted
was
to do in
other
my
things
life,
after the
I
economy
felt
crashed
like I
in
was
2009.
pretty.
It took
I
down
would
several of
would
our
be pretty good
clients.
at.
Yeah, I did some private.
I don't
security
know
work
how
because
in his
still
right mind he
has
thought he
some
would be a good
clients
cop.
he's had for years.
So he
Just based on what we're hearing.
Still has a few good clients he takes
Yes.
care of.
Mhm.
So what did the homeschooling consist of?
With homeschooling here in Texas, the parents are responsible for everything from curriculum selection, learning how to implement the curriculum, daily scheduling, evaluating students, and bringing them to completion, or if somebody wants to enter their children into a classroom. But
So at some point, Aaron earned a high school degree,
He did.
and after high school, what did he decide to do?
He did Arlington as an honors student in the engineering program.
And did he eventually earn a degree?
He did. He has a degree, a bachelor's degree in physics, and it's a minor in engineering.
And then he went to work at the engineering field?
Yes, he did. He actually worked in engineering some while he was a student.
At some point, he
I
decided.
really
to
find
make
it curious how
Yeah.
homeschooling parents are totally fine with having their kids go on to
Told us he
public
wanted to do it
colleges.
because he wanted to.
I
make
mean,
a difference in
obviously they have
people's
to
lives
go
and help
to
people.
some institution for higher education, but it would seem that they would be pretty against public college.
So how did the kids treat each other growing up?
Really, they all got along pretty well. There's some normal sibling rivalry. But there was a lot of love and compassion. And Aaron liked to dote on the younger sister, who's 10 years younger. When she was about 2 or so, he liked to put her down for her afternoon nap, and he'd go, see, if I put her down, I better pick 1 or 2.
I hate how they talk about how they were with as kids.
What's that young sister's name?
Alyssa.
She's here with us.
Yes, she is.
So, what kind of guy is Aaron?
He's smart. He's a hard worker. He definitely wants to help people, and he's very faithful in carrying out his responsibilities. He's very industrious, often, and has a lot of ingenuity.
He made up his own policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Sorry,
He had the ability to
she's just
follow
not.
rules.
No one's doing great.
Yes, sir. He was a good rule follower.
Has he been doing that his entire life?
Yes, I mean, it's, children have to be corrected, but Aaron didn't break rules or anything as a young person or a teenager.
How does he deal with other people? How's he around other folks?
He enjoys talking to people. He has a lot of wide-ranging interests. So oftentimes he has conversations with people from all walks of life. He's heard testimony about he's a musician. He loves history. He's well-read on a variety of topics, including many literature topics, classic literature. So he can converse on many topics and enjoys that, talking with people and doing projects with people, helping.
How does he help other people?
Over the years, he's when he was younger, when he was in high school or college, I think it was maybe in college, he was several times he would house sit for some friends when they were gone, different friends, very friends. And he had some interesting experiences. He grew up, we had a cat, and then some of these friends had cats and dogs and fish and chickens. And he did yard work typically. One friend was a widow lady and needed a lot of help around her place. She had a place with a not a very large yard, and it needed some work, and Aaron would often go over and help do the yard work or make repairs.
When he was growing up, did he have any particular hobbies?
Yes. He loved to build with any kind of
Nailed it.
construction toys that kids play with, Legos. They did a lot of Legos and Connects. A lot of kids like to build their Lego model, as it pictures, and then they set it on a shelf, and that's great. They've got a great display. Aaron's idea was you build it, and he looked and say, "I wonder what happens if," And then he always loved airplanes, aircraft, and one day as he was getting into probably
She's gonna
about
say-
the ninth
she's
grade
gonna
when
say
he
it
did
exactly.
Geometry, 8th or 9th grade, and couldn't figure out where he was, and I looked, and he was in the garage, and he had a lot of paper out there, And he was out there measuring and everything. And he said, I just figured out how to make the angles on the airplane, on wings correct. And now I know how to make these wings right. So, yeah.
Holy shit, he's weirder than the kid that liked to take things apart and put them back together.
The first thing I remember he did was he was probably about, I'm not really certain. It's just very simple. He took two almost like sticks of wood, but kind of cut on some and notched them and then put them together to form a cross. And on it he wrote, Jesus loves you. And he gave it to me. And I still have it on my dresser at home.
Oh, God. What kid that goes to church didn't do that for their mom at one point?
Things he did for other folks while he was in high school and college.
Yes. When he was in college, especially, because he lived at home, but he was obviously on the kids most of the time, most of the days. And a lot of times he would eat at fast food places or whatever. And
we are
on
turning
several
on this poor
occasions,
guy.
He encountered people who were in need or were homeless, and he would help them. The first incident that I remember, I think it was in his freshman year of college, and they start school in August, where it's very hot here. And he was at a fast food place up in by UTA.
I'm not object, Your Honor. Can I take this witness on board hour?
Yes.
Ma'am, how do you know about what happened at UTA? Did the defendant tell you?
He told me.
I'm gonna object, Your Honor, to hearsay.
Sustained.
Yep. God, that was good. The lawyer, that's going to rattle her
Certainly there
too.
were.
Oh, maybe not.
Besides the friends that I told you about, there was one homeless man in particular that he helped, and I know he helped him because
The state has found their confidence,
he
though.
gave the man our home phone number. Back then, people didn't use their cell phones except for emergencies.
I guess
And,
winning the case is how you
one
do
day
that.
I got a phone call, and it was from the city jail. I wanted to know if I would take a call from, I don't remember what his name was now. It's been 20 years ago. But it was the same person that Aaron had encountered. And this man was going to be released, and he needed some help. He didn't know where to go. And anyway, various things happened. We had contact with him off and on, and ended up suggesting that Aaron put him in contact with the Union Gospel Mission here in Fort Worth for some ongoing help.
So is that typical, the kind of things that?
Yes. Yeah. One time too, another time I was present, our church had a game night on a Friday evening, and we had food and everything, and we cleaned up, and a car pulls up with a man and woman and I think 2 children, I don't remember. And they said that they were needing food and money, and Aaron immediately began getting the food that we had just packed up, getting food out to help them and that kind of thing.
I don't know. I think she's a sweet Christian lady.
Jury were to see fit to give Aaron a probated sentence, would Aaron be able to follow?
Testifying like this is,
Judge Gallagher gives him a-
I've never done it, but I would imagine it's
He's
got to
been,
be incredibly
had to
nerve-wracking.
follow bond rules for the last 3 years. There's a fair amount of similarity. I noticed that one of the conditions is they have to have employment. And when Aaron, well, obviously he lost his job for the police department, and he needed to try to find work. And he's began working for a friend who had a business cleaning dinner hoods on restaurants, but this was just before COVID. When COVID hit, all the restaurants closed down, so he hadn't had a job. And throughout that time with COVID, there was some dead time in there when
Don't say dead.
But then he would begin to apply to a lot of agencies, I'll call them, I don't know, people who help placement services. And I think the way some of those work is they'll do a basic background, and then they place somebody, and then they'll do a more thorough background check. So Aaron was placed into
AK-47, you're fine. We're not in court. This is a YouTube chat. You can.
And then when the full background check would come and they realized he was under indictment, they would say, we can't keep you working here. And I know at least one of them, the supervisor particularly, said, I'm going to really I really want you to work here. You're a great worker and we really need you. But his company wouldn't let him stay on. So I worked to do that and follow the rules.
Well, he's managed to keep this again.
He has. He has. He's
ADD thought here.
yeah,
I find it
he's
so
process
weird how
of-
probation requirements are the same for everyone.
And
I
So,
totally understand why
we've
they
got some
have
projects
a
going on at
probation
my
requirement
house and a
of
couple
getting
other family
gainful
members' houses
employment
and repairs and upgrades and so
for a
on,
lot
in
of
addition
folks.
to-
Who the hell cares if Aaron Dean had employment going through this or not?
Cross-examination.
Ma'am,
Yes, sir.
is there a much worse pain for a mother to feel than to outlive her children?
I don't know.
I don't
because
know.
I don't outlive one of my children.
But
Good.
can you imagine?
That's a fucked up question.
Obviously, what happened in this situation was a very tragic thing.
No, ma'am. But isn't that one of the greatest pains that a mother can feel is to outlive one of her children?
Certainly.
And how many brothers and sisters does the defendant have?
Yes, 2 sisters and 3 brothers.
2 sisters and 3 brothers. And ever since October 2019, those 2 sisters and those 3 brothers have been able to hug the defendant whenever they wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And you've been able to hug the defendant whenever you wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And his father's been able to hug the defendant whenever he wanted. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
And you know, you've been sitting here for 2 weeks, right?
Yes, sir.
And you know that there's a
This is brutal, man.
after October 12, 2019, that a very important person.
They must really think they have the jury because you don't do this unless you think you have the jury.
Pass the witness.
Free direct.
Ms. Dean, you were here yesterday in the courthouse, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you were here when the jury reached its verdict,
Yes, sir.
and then we recessed for the evening?
Mhm.
And then did you walk from the courthouse to a car that was parked somewhere downtown?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to this line of questioning. May we approach?
No, I'm gonna let it go.
I love this judge.
Yes, my husband went to pick up the car and picked me up.
Okay, did he pick you up down here next to the courthouse?
The state opened the
Yes.
door on this.
Were there other members of the family present?
Yes.
And was there an incident that occurred out by the street?
There were a lot of people yelling
Yelling at who?
at my family.
What kind of things were they yelling at?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to hearsay.
Sustain.
Were the things they were yelling at you true?
No.
Were they accusations?
Yes.
What were they?
I'm going to object, Your Honor, again to hearsay.
That's hearsay.
Judge, we're not offering it because it's true, we're offering it because it was said.
Then I would object to relevance.
Understand the objection sustained.
This prosecutor,
Was it a
Mr.
tense
Smith,
situation?
Yes.
Were
prosecutors,
those people being?
he's a little over aggressive,
Yeah.
man. Like, you don't need to yell your objection. The judge gets it.
Did you feel safe?
Only because there were a lot of sheriff's deputies around.
Was it a very bad situation?
Yes.
Are you concerned about it going forward?
Yes.
You pass the witness.
Mr. Smith?
Guys, this is why we need to blow this channel up.
Atatiana Jefferson's
I want to have people on the ground so we can report this,
Yes.
report things like that that happened in real time. It makes me mad that I missed that.
I don't really know who it was.
You saying it was them?
So hit the like
There were
button.
a lot of people out there hollering. I have no idea who those people were.
So you think it could have been them yelling at you?
And Judge,
I don't
for
know.
the record, we're not saying it was.
We understand.
Pass the witness.
Mr. Gill?
Nothing further, Judge.
Then Ms. Dean be excused subject to potential recall.
She may.
No objection to the state.
Thank you, ma'am.
Man, this penalty phase is going as bad, if not worse, than the penalty phase was going for Stabby Matt down in Florida. That was not super. Your mom should be helpful to you.
I believe Mr. Mata has graced us with his presence. We ask that he be sworn in and put under the rules.
Is there a Mr. Mata in the courtroom?
Oh wow! So this is the guy that they swore
Stand right there
in.
at the rail foreman. please?
this
and raise your right
morning
hand for me.
as a
Solemnly
witness.
swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the
Oh, no,
truth,
it's a
whole
different
truth,
guy.
and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I don't know what this is
Hey,
about.
Judge, may we approach?
I don't understand what's going on.
I'm swearing you in as a witness. So,
Under what authority, sir?
all right, here it goes with your.
Under what authority? I'm the motherfucking judge, bro. Sorry. Excuse my language. There's some stuff going down. Man, I wish I had to.
Going to be seated. Mr. Mata, is your name Manuel Mata?
Yes, sir.
Your date of birth is 7/1980?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have issued you an oath to testify truthfully. Are you going to take that oath?
I have a question, sir.
No? Are you going to?
No,
take that
I'm
oath?
pretty sure this is an activist.
All right. You are on bond on some cases, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Those bonds are being declared insufficient, Sheriff.
What, sir? What's going on?
Oh my God, dude.
What did I do? I need my lawyer present, sir.
We will get your lawyer.
You questioned me without a lawyer present.
He's a judge,
I
bro.
don't know what y'all are doing. I don't know what's going on. For what? For what? I asked him a question. I don't have.
I hate when judges do that kind of shit, though.
And I just wanted to know who's asking for me to be sworn in. The DA, the defense, the judge, who's asking it? Those are questions I need answers if you're gonna revoke me. You ain't gotta be aggressive with the dude.
Ugh.
Let me see the lawyer.
Yeah, we can't.
It's gotta be on.
So there must have been some drama last night. I have a feeling that the guy was more of an activist than anything. They must have been yelling at the parents or the family, maybe yelling threats. I think the defense is going to call them and ask them what they were yelling. But again, I don't have great reporting on the ground. So what do we think, guys? Does drama like this help or hurt the defendant? Well, the jury didn't see the jury didn't see almost any of that. So I guess it doesn't do anything. I'm going to switch feeds real quick while we wait, see if I can get a better one. I think I'm pretty sure it's just all these camera feeds suck, but I'm going to try. All these trials have something though, huh? Whoa, the camera feed just went out. Remember, this judge locked the courtroom this morning. Craziness, craziness, craziness. I'm going to try long crime speed. No, it looks horrible. Yeah, so that was some more drama in the courtroom. The feed has been cut. I will bring it back up as soon as it becomes available. This judge loves to cut the cameras when something goes on, and that's the exact reason why we have cameras in the courtroom, is so that everything is transparent, including things like this. He was super quick to revoke that guy's bond. Here's what I'm gleaning from what happened there. So the defense has asked for several people today. Over the course of today, the defense has asked to swear in several new witnesses. Obviously, because I'm not in Texas. I have to make some judgments. Obviously, okay. The folks that they're having sworn in as witnesses look to be of the activist type, look to be probably not on the side of Officer Dean. I don't know their whole motivation behind swearing them in. Ethically, they should only be swearing them in if they really have a fair amount of certainty. That's not the right word. If there's a high probability that they're going to call them as witnesses, you shouldn't swear in witnesses that you absolutely know you're not going to call. So under that theory, they may be calling these folks, and it must have to do with what happened last night that the defense attorney was questioning the mom on. If WFAA has a reporter come on, I think they do. I'm going to pull up sound here. And then we'll just mute them. Unfortunately, we have to rely on other people's reporters. But so anyway, they've done that over the course of the day. This gentleman's name was Mr. Mata, I guess showed up in the courtroom. He made a comment of he's graced us with his presence. We all kind of know what that kind of snark means, right? Again, so probably hostile to the defense. When the judge began to swear Mr. Mata in, Mr. Mata said something to the effect of, under what authority? And the judge gave him like one
yelling at Dean's family yesterday, and I'm
Okay,
sorry,
here,
I found it appalling. They did not do this.
Okay,
and
nobody gives a shit what you have to say. I do want to go to WFAA if they have reporters talk, but in being sworn in, the judge he asked under what authority, and the judge didn't really answer his question, which I personally think he should have said under the authority of the state of Texas. But judges don't like to be questioned like that. So the judge gave him one more chance and said, I want to swear you in. Are you going to accept this oath? I think he said no, or probably came back with like under what authority again. The judge then asked him, you are out on bond, right? He said yes. The judge said those bonds are now being canceled, and they placed him under arrest. They canceled his bonds for not taking the oath, which, I mean, the judge has all authority to do that. He has all the authority to do that. I think it happened rather quickly. This judge clearly is. This judge is no nonsense. In a lot of ways, I like it. Put someone in handcuffs. I don't know. You probably should be a little more patient. We'll see. They might not keep him locked up. This judge isn't scared of anyone either. My understanding is he is now holding contempt hearings for the mayor, for a city council member, and for a member of the Carr family, which is Anita Jefferson's family. So wild stuff. The judge is over this. And remember, this is the judge that I've nicknamed Judge Shockey. He had a defendant in his courtroom electrically shocked 3 times. A Darrell Brooks type character. It's wild. If I see any reporting out of Texas, I will bring it up. Unfortunately, my systems are a little limited when I'm actually live, so I honestly really can't have Twitter up at the same time I have all of this up. So if you all see anything on Twitter, definitely throw it in the chat. But I think we saw what happened. What time is it there? So we're at 3 o'clock. My understanding is if they got to about 3:30 or so, they were going to recess until Monday. Because if this gets sent to the jury now, the jury needs to be sequestered. I'm sure that the jury could deliberate over the weekend if they're sequestered. But I think the goal was to get it to them by 3:30 so that they would have time to deliberate today. Get a verdict, get the sentence handed down, and be on their way for the weekend. So I don't know how many more witnesses Dean has. They've all been going fast, so see, man, I hate that I don't know all this anymore. I used to know all this stuff. Broadcasting is hard, but no court next week because of Christmas. So they've got to get this to the jury today and let them deliberate well into the night. Because my understanding is that this judge does not want the court running this weekend either. Man, this is not going well for Aaron Dean, though. I mean, think about the witnesses Kim Potter had in her penalty phase. Police brass coming in and saying how amazing of an officer she was. Aaron Dean had his field training officer who couldn't remember an actual instance, good or bad, about him. Couldn't imagine, couldn't remember like an actual event that happened, good or bad. Saying, and the takeaway from him was not that, yes, he's a great officer. It's, well, I can't really remember anything that he did bad. Okay, we're back live. We're going to go with WFAA's feed. Let's hope it's a little better. Hey, Kara, it's way better info than I have. I think you're right on that. Wow. This seems to be worse. Let me see if I can. Oh, hang with me. This feed is absolutely killing me. And I know it's the feed because we had no issues with Court TV's feed of the Angie Hawk trial. Did I lose volume? My bad. Here we go.
Adam, how old man are you?
I am 30 years old.
You have a family?
And you're loud.
32.
What does your family consist of?
I have a wife and I have 2 born children and 1 more on the way.
2 born. I like it.
What kind of work?
Switching audio here real quick.
Currently, I am employed as a recruiter or a headhunter. I got into that recently and I'm excited about it.
Okay, so what does a recruiter or headhunter do?
Basically, we are interested primarily in getting 2 parties to speak to each other. We go out and we find individuals we consider candidates, people with a marketable
That's an
skill
interesting
set,
way to explain a
and we
headhunt
go and
yourself
look
as a
for
headhunter.
companies that would be interested in that background and skill set, and we are primarily interested in getting them to sit down and talk and see if it's a good match for both parties.
I'm thinking, brother.
Yes, sir. I'm enjoying it very much.
Are you related to Aaron over here to my right?
Yes, sir, I am. He is my older brother.
Approximately
Yep,
how
so
many
younger
brothers
brother.
are there?
There's
Good call,
about
Brittany.
8 between us.
So you grew up in the same house,
Yes, sir, that is correct.
despite the 8-year age difference, were you pretty close?
Yes, sir, we were very close. Obviously, when I was younger, I don't remember some of the things. I do remember that he would help us with a variety of projects. I actually remember, as odd as it sounds, taking a bath with him at one point somewhere in my very early childhood.
What kind of projects would he help you with?
Well, as you've heard already, he was quite the engineer, quite the mechanic, and he constructed
Yeah,
a
here,
number
I
of
should have pulled that
Lego
up
and
faster.
Connects and other kinds of
This
objects.
judge
And
seems
he,
like he's not one to be
enjoyed
like,
doing that, enjoyed being with his family doing that, and he would help me with, and my siblings with those kinds of things as well.
this judge is kind of old school. He seems like the guy that would smirk after locking
He
somebody
was.
up
We
on
had a
bond.
number of adventures together, a number of enjoyable activities, as well as the occasional headbutting.
As the true of you have grown older, what kind of man has Aaron grown into?
Well, Aaron has become a very mature man of integrity, a man who is interested in helping others, in caring for others, serving others. I would say a man who cares about honor and wanting to do the right thing.
These folks sound like they're testifying for a guy trying to get out on parole,
How would you describe his personality?
or for a true criminal,
He
like a career criminal,
is
a multi-time
to you. He,
offender.
has both
They don't have like these
a
glowing
serious
things
and
to say.
light fun side. We make fun of him a little bit for being a little too self-serious.
It's almost like we
occasionally,
need
but,
him home
he
testimony.
has
It's
plenty
so
of
weird.
humor. He can speak to people. He's very interested in a number of different areas. We've already heard some of those kinds of things. He enjoys learning about those things. He's
How many
self-taught
cops
in
are
many of the
introverted?
areas you have heard described.
You described that you have a couple of kids, a couple of born kids.
Yes, sir. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son.
Do they know Aaron?
Yes, they do, very well. Recently, I got into weightlifting, and again, as the
No, you
engineer,
didn't.
I knew that Aaron was the one who I would call to help me build a weight rack in my bedroom. And during his time there, he began to interact with, especially at that time, my son had not been born yet. And he
This guy
interacted
hasn't been
with
in
my
for
daughter,
3 weeks.
and she is very particular about who she likes, who she lets hold her or talk to her. And just after a couple of weeks of being there and engaging in that,
All right, Brittany, you're
she began
cynical.
to ask
I love it.
when Uncle Aaron would come next, when the next time she could see him was.
Like it. That's kind of the overbearing brother.
Work with the children's choir.
Yes, sir, I am.
What describe that to the jury?
So as you have heard, of course, he grew up in that program, in the high school program. You heard, of course, earlier from Mrs. Armstrong, and he led the children's choir that they did occasionally when Mr. Armstrong needed him to. He was very good at
Chin-ups are
providing
easy for Aaron.
direction for those kinds of things, helping the younger ones
He can clear the bar a
learn
lot.
and grow and be able to engage in the activities they need to.
How does Aaron approach tasks when he has something he has to get done?
Well, I would say he is very interested in figuring out what he's got in front of him. He wants to make a plan. He wants to understand the nature of the thing. He will often set about making drawings or spending a good amount of time planning, calculating, trying to figure out the best way to go about that. And then he throws himself wholeheartedly into it. If he needs to learn something, if he doesn't know, he will go and find someone or find a source that he can learn from to understand what it is that he needs to do and continue forward with it.
You've known him throughout his adulthood. Has he ever been convicted of any type of criminal offense?
No, sir.
Is he a hardworking guy?
Very much so.
Is he a creative guy?
Very, very much so. Yes, sir. There are numerous occasions. In fact, this weightlifting rack that I've spoken of, we put our heads together to determine how we bought that. We actually bought one off of Amazon and deconstructed it, modified it to use in my bedroom with a less amount of space than you would traditionally use. Aaron was the one who took care of all of that, figured it all out.
This isn't that helpful. Proving that he's a great engineer, a very analytical mind,
Absolutely.
doesn't say to me that
there would be no
this is
difficulty
a
whatsoever in following
great
those
officer that wanted to serve his
bond
community
rules that have been set
and made a
forth,
mistake.
throughout my time, knowing him in interactions with other organizations, hierarchies where there were rules. I is not the one who goes and skirts around the rules or figures out how he can get what he wants.
We knew we would get there.
Thinking that he's above them.
We knew we would get there.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
May Mr. Dean be excused subject to any potential recall.
You may.
No objection from the state.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gill.
Alyssa Dean.
Alyssa Dean.
His brother looks like he got the weight rack, but he's yet to need actual weights. He's just got the bar so far.
Solemnly swear or affirm testimony given this cause to be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Oh, so you're right here. Mr. Gill.
Are you Aaron's younger sister?
I am.
Did you hear your mom testify a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Find the mic, my guy.
To the airport.
I am.
How are you occupied on board?
I am a police officer.
Are you a police officer for one of the departments here in the Metroplex?
Yes, I work here in DFW.
Oh, God.
And like the rest of the family, were you raised here in the Arlington area,
I was.
homeschooled?
Yes.
How much younger than Aaron are you?
10 years.
They finally got a cop on the stand.
A close
It's his sister.
relationship growing up?
My mom's already told you the story about him being willing to get me whatever stuffed animal I wanted when I napped, which she said I was 2, but that continued further into my childhood than that. I remember, because I can remember, I remember being upset that I had to go take a nap while the rest of my siblings got to play. And so to console me, Aaron would bring me, again, whatever stuffed animal, however many I wanted for my nap time. I also remember in the
I hate the childhood
summer, we would go see my grandparents who lived in Reno every year. And
almost every
they
kid
had
is a
property and they had horses.
good kid.
And Aaron would
Like,
take me horseback riding every year.
and memories of childhood are always great. Like,
Pretty good memories.
I don't like it.
Yes.
And it sounds trite. I mean, if it worked, I'd be fine with it. It sounds trite. I don't think it works.
Police officer. So,
Oh, this feed.
Yes.
what kind of guy is Aaron?
Hardworking, humble, caring. You've heard already from my family that he has a lot of projects, and he does. He likes to have a lot of different interests and likes to do a lot of things. He's actually been in the process of helping me remodel
remodel my bathroom, which is something he took on himself to do and has ripped it down to studs, and we're in the process of rebuilding it.
You said and gave us an example of how his hard work, and you said he was humble also. Describe that to us.
I remember conversations when Aaron was going through the academy. Of course, I had already been through my academy by that time. I was an officer. And awareness that he was tackling a new field, very different from what he had done before. And and he knew he didn't know everything. And he was eager to learn every day. He was eager to get in there and learn what it was about.
Does Aaron have an ability to follow rules?
Yes,
Does he follow society's rules?
absolutely.
As a component of the criminal justice system, do you feel like he'd be able to follow the rules that Judge Gallagher gives to him?
Absolutely. My family's already referred that he's, of course, followed his bond conditions for the last 3 years. But he would have no desire not to. I mean, he lives his life according to those rules anyway. That wouldn't be an issue for him.
You understand that while you may continue to be a police officer, that Aaron is done being a police officer.
Cross-examination.
You've had your brother, and you just talked about it the last 3 years. So he's been helping you around the house.
Oh, God.
And you've been able to talk to him.
You don't have to do this either, prosecutor.
Yes,
In fact, you just touched him on the shoulder with him.
I
You can
did.
still touch him with your hands.
I can.
And you know that's not something that this family over here to my left, the second row right here, do you know Darius Carr? You don't know him, right?
But I saw him speak earlier.
Sure, but you don't know him.
I do not know.
And you don't know Ashley.
I do not.
And you don't know Amber, who's in the hospital. And you know, though, that they don't get that.
Where did
You know that?
I'm not gonna pull comments up because I think
And
it's still in the feed down.
As far as what we talked a little bit earlier about.
But
this
Brittany
with
says,
another family member,
is she a beat
you
cop or
also
a house
were in a very religious
mouse?
family,
And
correct?
it's like, no, great question.
You're
And where
familiar
did this
with-
family
you are
decide that they were gonna be a family of cops?
You're familiar with this, correct?
Yes.
Old Testament, New Testament, both.
Yes.
Oh, they're going after the eye for the eye shit?
Described earlier about your brother being humble and caring. You love him, correct?
Yes.
Y'all seem like you are very, very close.
We are very close.
And both of you guys are the only 2 of the 6 siblings that went into law enforcement yourself. Did he do that because of you?
Actually, most of my siblings have had an interest in law enforcement at one time or another. We're just the only 2 who ended up pursuing it.
And so, did he go into it because of you?
No.
Okay. And so both you guys were police officers at one point.
Yes.
Right. And you heard him grade himself as far as his performance out there, right?
I did.
And he gave himself a B.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry, it's just because you're
Okay.
saying that.
But yes.
I'm gonna kill my camera in hopes that it helps with a little bit of the feed, guys.
Grade. Do you feel like that's a humble grade to give when a life is lost?
I think it is very hard to give a grade when you're not given a rubric to grade by.
Sure.
A rubric to grade by. Rubric? Are you?
And so, do you agree with the grade of B then? for
Like I
us?
said, I
If you'll let me finish my question.
I'm sorry.
It's just because we can't interrupt each other, and I've got to finish before you answer vice versa. So, do you agree with for the grade B, his performance out there?
like I said, without being given some kind of grading tool to use,
I don't-
I can't agree with that. I mean, all tests
Hey,
have to be given
Tom.
some kind of criteria
Good
to
to see you,
grade them
man.
by, correct?
Sure. and
Ho,
so
ho, ho
Dale
from
gave
Norway,
the
says Tom.
A to F. He gave the grade.
I like her answer on I can't grade it without a rubric.
Again, without defining
That
what
would
an
have been a
A
good
and a
answer
B
in
and a C
trial.
would be. I mean, any test you take, someone has to grade that test based on some example, right? You can't just make up a grade. So without being given that grading scale, I can't agree or disagree.
so in your mind, there's nothing that he should have done any better out there? Yes or no? Yes.
In my mind, no,
There's nothing he could have done any better out
no.
there?
Man, I wish they would have had cops come up to testify to that.
Alyssa, you know, as a police officer, that every time you show up for shift, there's something bad is gonna happen that evening, right?
I do.
You know that officers get killed and injured all the time in the United States of America, isn't that right?
Yes, there were 2 officers killed just this week in Bay St. Louis. I believe it was,
It's now outside the scope, it's not relevant.
This is good.
That's they're right.
It's something that.
I like
in
that.
your academy,
That's the training tried to go there, though.
That Aaron went to,
I did,
they train use of force in your academy?
yes, very extensively.
Were you trained, if you faced a deadly threat, did you answer that deadly threat with deadly force?
Yes,
Would you be surprised if any other police department across the United States trained any different?
So in the guilt
I would be
phase,
shocked
during
if
the
anyone trained any differently.
punishment phase, penalty phase, you really don't want to attack the jury's verdict,
Split-second decisions.
and they've done it now twice.
Will you pass the witness?
This is a point. This is a case where I would be very, very tempted to do it. Just to go back to the.
Yes or no? You either
It's
agree or
very
you
tempting
don't.
to go to
You asked if I
back
disagree?
to
Yeah. Do you
police
disagree
officers'
with her?
jobs are
Yes.
dangerous.
That's his
You have to
sister,
make
yes.
split-second decisions.
Mr. Gill?
You got to be super careful because you can come off as criticizing their verdict, and that's not supposed to be.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Brittany's killing it in the chat. I wish I could pull them up without causing more issues with the people. What was the use of the force in their family? I was thinking that too. My gut actually says probably not much, but it does beg the question.
You testified previously, right? Yes. Okay, remind you that you're still under oath, okay?
This is Atatiana Jefferson's sister.
I believe it's already been admitted, Stacey's in 91.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ashley, you're the same Ashley Carr that testified during the guilt innocence phase, is that right?
Correct,
Now here to testify in the punishment phase, correct?
correct.
Okay, so I want to talk to you just a little bit about the relationship of this young man you see in Stacey. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. Tell me, I know now, and maybe you've always been, are you kind of like a second mom to Zion?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
My sister Amber was the first one of us to,
I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to object. This is outside the scope of this hearing.
Response?
I believe this is directly, this is a punishment phase, and so I'm about to ask her questions regarding the impact that it's had on, now that Tatiana's no longer here, her relationship.
Let's get to that then, okay?
And so, I think you were answering a question about Amber had the first.
so my sister
Brittany,
Amber,
don't
out of
you're
all
gonna
of
get me
us,
going.
the first one to have children. So Zion was our first nephew. We birthed him, he was our baby. I was the aunt that bought things. Tay was the aunt that played with the things that I bought.
Okay, and so was it Tatiana, was she like a second mom to him?
Yes, as well. So he really had 3 moms.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you said she's the one that would actually play with them. Would she also make sure that he followed certain chores and responsibilities, things like that, especially when she was living there with him?
Yes, she believed that, structure is needed
So
for
we're back to
children
the state's
so
rebuttal.
that they could feel safe and know that, you know, what's coming next. She had made him I guess a schedule of what you're supposed to do in the morning and had it on the refrigerator.
Now that
Yes.
Yeah, this is the state's rebuttal case. I don't know why they get a rebuttal case.
Okay, so that is Ashley Carr, who is Atatiana Jefferson's
I just can't stand this lady. Sorry.
sister. Sorry.
Yeah, so the state gets a rebuttal case, but it has to stay within the scope of what the defense put on. So I don't even know how this could be rebuttal, unless you're going to argue that rebuttal is they were talking. I have a problem with this being a rebuttal witness, and I think that may be why they're at the bench right now. Everyone, all my links are in the description. Link to my website is in the description. That's trialjunkie.online. I right now a pretty basic site with the schedule of trials that I'll be covering, but I'm going to be building that out to as a great resource. Brittany's killing me. I want to build that out as a really good resource for everybody in our little community too. Obviously, the subscribe link is down there. A link to the donate link, and another big shout out to Kara. Kara donated the other day. Super thankful for that. Also, make sure you hit that like button, and my Twitter link is in in my bio. Or God, I'm losing it. It's Friday. My Twitter link is in the description as well. And Brittany, if you haven't gone and followed me on Twitter, make sure you do. I tend to get in fights around this topic, and I think that you and I are on the same side. Even I get in some good Twitter fights. I think we're on the same side, but even if we're not, they're entertaining, and I take both. You know, so go follow me on Twitter. Sorry, my camera's not up. The feed from this trial is just gobbling bandwidth. So we saw from the Angelina Hawk trial, it doesn't have to be that way. And let me turn the volume back on. Sorry. God.
That he burnt the burgers that night. And if he didn't have burnt the burgers, the doors wouldn't have been open and the cops wouldn't have came. So it all goes back to him in an 8-year-old mind. And it's when everyone is hurting around him, it was hard to console him. So we found help outside of us.
was it difficult last week for him to testify?
Extremely.
Did he have some emotional reaction to this whole process?
Yes.
What?
So much so that he did not go to school for the next couple of days after that, so that we can make sure that he felt comfortable. He was having panic attacks.
So my stereotyping was spot on.
An 11-year-old kid express why you're frustrated and why you're mad.
Judge, that was it. That's the only remaining questions that I had to ask.
Any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Do you have objections?
Oh,
So what that actually means, y'all, is that
Let me be clear. The only
Almost
question
all of the questions she was going to ask got
with his family
struck
members.
down when they were in the sidebar.
Outside of that, I did not have any additional subject matter to cover.
Let me say this, let me say this in front of everybody. The way both of these families have behaved in this courtroom, I have no doubt the Carr family was not involved in any of that. And I have appreciated their demeanor just as I've appreciated the demeanor of the family. I thank both families throughout this trial. So that's not necessary, in my opinion, Ms. Dinger. Mr. Gill.
However, Judge, if the state wants to ask those questions, we are not going to object to that because we do not believe that they were any part of that either. I think
The person we just took
went through
in,
the holdover door a few minutes ago.
that's my understanding also, is the person who was involved. All right.
But we do have an objection to the way that the victim impact evidence has taken a turn away from the impact of the death of Atatiana Jefferson to impact of court proceedings. I don't believe that there's any relevance to how someone feels after court proceedings.
Talking the mic guy.
Please valid back victim impact testimony.
I've got a couple of concerns based upon her testimony thus far when she stated that Zion said it's his fault because he burned the hamburger. We're getting into hearsay. That's my first thing.
That was going to be my next
What up?
I was just gonna ask, may I be permitted to ask him if he's sad?
Objection calling for hearsay.
His demeanor?
With demeanor, yeah. But you can't go into statements that other people have said outside of court. So that's where I'm coming from. Any other objections?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm going to allow you to ask her generally about Zion. Has he had problems as a result of this? Has he sought counseling? Did that counseling have to either increase or intensify as a result?
No,
of
the person
trial?
that was signing to Zion's not allowed in court anymore. And it wasn't an immediate family member.
I want to keep it real general. Okay.
The jury is not out.
What about missing
there?
school?
So they've moved, in a way of saying, they've moved the sidebar
Because of the incident and the trial.
back.
Correct.
Let the jury leaves so that they could make argument.
Running objection to that. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you understand where we're coming from?
Mhm.
All right. Both sides ready for the jury?
State's ready.
Yes.
All right.
This judge is ready for his Friday evening scotch. He looks done.
Everyone may be seated. We are ready.
About the relationship of Zion and Tatiana, and you were talking about the chores that were on the refrigerator. Have you been able to observe how this and the loss of Tatiana has affected him?
Yes, I have.
Tell me about that.
Since this happened, Zion has been placed with an IEP in school for social emotional learning.
What is it? You just said it in an acronym. Say it again.
IEP.
IEP.
It's a
Individual
plan to make
education
sure that he's
plan.
able to be the best successful that he can be in school. So there'll be some times that he will have outbursts. Emotions will come from nowhere, and he's in the middle of class. And during in the plan, we've given him a space where he can just be by himself, to breathe through it, to also have a buddy at the school. So, but it's not a student; it's an adult buddy that he can feel confident in talking to them, and they'll help him.
He had to go through counseling after Atatiana died.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
God, this feet suck. I'm sorry, everyone.
Play therapy. Then the pandemic happened, everybody kind of stopped, and he was doing virtual therapy. But he's a kid, so virtual therapy wasn't really for him. So we were able to find him in-person therapy, and where he's been attending.
Has that counseling had to increase over the last few months or weeks in proceeding for the trial?
Well, it increased. Every time we got a delay, it increased.
Has he had to miss school because of some of these issues?
Yes. Sometimes he wakes up and frightened. Sometimes he wakes up crying where he can't understand why he's uncontrollably crying. We just don't want to send him in an environment where emotions are not intact for that day. So luckily the teachers have been working with us and sending, the work home or things like that, or telling us what he's missed, because they all understand that this is something traumatic for him.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Judge.
Say Ms. Carr be excused.
Nope, no questions. Hey, real quick, Brittany asked how running appeals work for objections. So a running, or most of the time you'd hear it called standing appeal. It simply means that every time
Mr. Smith.
a question or
State of Texas rests.
Oh, are we glad?
State of Texas closes as well.
All right, that's all of the evidence that you will hear. And we're going to talk to the lawyers. Y'all retired to your hearing. I'll be back.
So running or standing objections, this really mean that he doesn't have to object every time the similar situation happens. It's automatically put into the record as that he objected to that. So that is very important for appeals, because if you don't object, it's not appealable.
Well, in the Amber Geiger trial, we had Bibles and hugs.
In this trial, we have arrest and handcuffs, right?
Wow. I hate these people. All right, I'm back. I will watch to see if anything else happens. I think there will be. I think we're going to see a little bit of something still happen. We're going to find out if that goes to the jury or not. But it's right at 3:30. Remember, he's going to have to read instructions to them on. He's going to have to read jury instructions for this phase 2 as well. But I can't see him wanting to let this go over the whole next week. Yeah, I mean, so Steve Gosney is a actual appellate lawyer who has real life experience. So I would absolutely take what he says. But you kind of have, I mean, it's kind of the only choice you have, because the judge is going to get absolutely annoyed if you just keep objecting for the same reason. And theoretically, standing objections should be fine in the record. But you have to have the objection on record, or whatever your issue is. You have to object to whatever the issue you have is. Otherwise, it's not appealable. Wow. So let's go. Just quick thoughts on how this is going for Aaron Dean. Not good. And these sentencing hearings are hard because, one, your family members get up to testify, and immediately everyone's thought is, well, yeah, you're their family member. You're going to, oh, you just got Gosney's book in the mail. That's awesome. I think I'm actually going to take some of Bronca's classes, and so maybe I'll have Gosney as a professor. It wasn't good. It's hard because we see family members get up, and all of us just immediately think, I wonder if they're going to testify truthfully on behalf of their family member. I bet you they don't have anything bad to say about their family member. And then you're also limited by the rules of evidence. The testimony has to be to very specific things. And we're live again, so I'm going to pull it back up. But you have to testify in very specific parameters that actually go to parameters set on what sentencing should be done. Okay, is this guy back? Oh, we're not live again. This is just, they're just showing us again. I'll pull it up so everyone can see the drama again. I'll rewind it a second.
Well, in the Amber Geiger trial, we had Bibles and hugs.
In this trial, we have arrest and handcuffs.
I don't think I'm going to go grab it. Oh, well. Yeah, so it makes the testimony really dry. It almost sounds, to me, it almost comes across as the family members not being emotional enough, or as one would expect them to be for their family member. So I think it tends to hurt them. But this was worse than like most that I've seen. They just seem to sorry, I have ADD. The chat just gets me. There was not a lot of like glowing. What needed to come across to the jury is that this was a cop who loved his community. This was a cop that loved the people he served, despite the fact that they were on the east side, right? And I didn't mean that like it sounded. He loved the east side community that he protected and served. He did this so he could protect people's homes from being burglarized. He did this so he could protect people. And none of the testimony came through like that. One sec, I got a kid in here with a question. Oh, no, never mind. He's just hanging out. Let me go through some of your comments here and see if we'll spark some thought. State versus Lake is next week? Okay. Let me look into that. So I had next week planned to actually do some well-produced videos previewing the trials that we have coming up, getting into the details, the question of laws that are going to come up. But if we have something else to stream, let me read about it. I'm not going to make, yeah, so Monday. Interesting. Oh, let me make sure we're monitoring. I really want to get those videos produced, but I also want to keep the ball rolling on this trial a day. We're over, so this trial, I'm over like 600 watch hours already. just getting started out. That's more than I could imagine. Thank you all for being here. I do need to develop some videos and things like that, though, so we can start boosting the subscriber count to get over some of those humps. Channel 3 is streaming. Is it State vs. Scary Lake? Maddie, I'm behind on this. And I know you sent me links to look at. I saw 3 TV. So Maddie and I are both in Arizona. And one of our new stations here is 3 TV. And I saw something about a pretrial live on 3 TV today. Maddie, I will look into it by the end of the night. So I need 4,000 watch hours to be monetized, but I also have to get over the 1,000 subscriber count. Where I'm at like 125 or something like that. And I didn't expect it to, it's going to take time. I got to find my way in the algorithm. But okay, yeah. So, Maddie, it sounds like that's an older case, but so the plan as of right now is to produce some really good videos for y'all to preview the upcoming cases that I'm going to be covering. We'll cover every case gavel to gavel, but I want to produce some preview videos that aren't super long, maybe between 30 minutes and an hour, depending on the content that needs to go in. But I want to cover the things that we care about, right? The law, the questions of law that are going to be asked, but then also some journalistic things like who are all the characters? Do we have pretrial hearings and I'll clip the important parts from pretrial hearings and hopefully produce some really like clean preview videos that are super informative. Yeah, so that's the other thing that I was planning on taking next week to do is really reaching out to some of the law tubers. John's been super helpful, but I do need to branch out to kind of build some visibility. I'm a former marketing guy, so I know how to get out there and build it, but yeah, Tom, no worries on that. If anyone does want to send Trial Junkie some donations to keep the ship afloat, you can always go to my website, trialjunkie.online. There's a link right there to donate. Also, liking and sharing all of these videos, super helpful. Getting actual just video uploads opposed to live streams and getting things on my homepage is going to be helpful. And then it's just going to take time to get into the algorithm. And I'm also going to want to be super cautious, like on the shows on the channels I do go on to promote, because I like this chat that we have. So I definitely need to and want to scale the size of my viewership, but I want to keep the chat the way it is. Yep, we're doing Wisconsin versus Mark Jensen. His pretrial will be part of the video I produce. And maybe if we have time next week, we'll watch it live. See, this pretrial stuff, I don't want to cut into live coverage of the actual trial to cover pretrial stuff. But I will be covering the Mark Jensen trial. That's the it's a retrial, and it's the antifreeze murder trial, and I'm almost positive it's a retrial. Still watching WFAA. I don't know if there's anything. Let me go to one other. Now that don't have my screen up, I'm going to check out Twitter too, see if we have anything going. The antifreeze dude, yep. We'll cover that one for sure. I got to do my research on that one though. So I haven't done a whole lot of research. I read enough to be like, yes, I'm covering that one. Beyond that, I haven't read much. Let's see if I can get some information on what we have going on in Texas. So the jury is still there in the jury room. He's going to meet later with them to talk to them. No more on the record today. Okay, I'm going to hang live for just a little bit longer because it's not like 100% reporting, but it sounds like the judge is going to send the jury home for a week. Okay, so so he got a new trial, but he's been tried once before, right? Shuckett? In 98? Let me pull up some other comments here. Okay, I could agree with that. My political viewpoints and the way I look at life, I really have no problem with homeschool. I say that, but none of my kids have been homeschooled. Put it that way. And I hear what you're saying in terms of like, there seems to be some sort of pervasive issue. There does. That whole family's a little odd. The mom seemed the most normal, and that's saying something. I mean, Aaron Dean seemed fairly normal in his testimony. I mean, he was on the stand for a while. Okay, yeah. So the anti-freeze trial he got a new trial. Chuck is absolutely right. I shouldn't say retrial. Retrial is really more of a hung jury. He got a new trial through appeal, and he's been in jail for a long time. He's been in jail for, I think, since 2008, so that's 15 years. What other comments do we have? I got to pull a couple of Brittany's up. She was cracking me up. Saw that one. I can't disagree. That was not good. Now, again, I don't think the jury is going to base too much of their opinion on this actual penalty phase. I think if he had a great penalty phase, it would have definitely helped him. I don't know how much a bad penalty phase is going to hurt him, because I think the jury already had their mind made up and would have been made to. They would have been made to change their minds by a super stellar penalty phase. But at the same time, one thing that would have made a super stellar penalty phase would be great cops getting up and saying that he was a great person to work with. He was a great cop. He would have been able to do that to an extent, especially around his actual ability to be a police officer in the guilt phase of the trial. He didn't have witnesses there, so obviously he wasn't going to have witnesses for the penalty phase. They would have pulled those out. They would have pulled them out to begin with. Okay, so are we hearing Monday? Let me see if I can. Yeah, the family seems off. My question is, I mean, I've known families like that, like they come across. I just never known. I've never known any of those families to have several police officers within them. Could be wrong. Let's see what some of the reporters are tweeting out about what's going on. My Twitter goes slow while we broadcast out. Not much coming out yet. I'm not seeing anyone report anything, so I'm going to hang for a little while, chat with you all until we know for sure. Oh, antisocial personality disorder. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, Tom, that's super cool of you. Tom shot over $40. Thank you, sir. That's super appreciated, and it will go directly into better equipment, better tools, so that I'm not lagging and things like that ever, and so that I can have Twitter up and tell you guys things that are going on in real time, and all that. Super appreciated. Yeah, so it sounds like Monday, and again, I didn't plan on taking the week off. I plan on building some videos and really working on growing the channel. But if they're going Monday, we're definitely going to go Monday. We will definitely be there. Okay, WFAA is reporting Monday. That's what would make sense to me. Like, I mean, we're not that close to Christmas. Well then, if we are going Monday, I will see you all Monday, if not sooner. Yeah, it will be Monday because I got some work to do this weekend, and again, I want to get those videos out and produced. So yeah, plan Monday and I'm sure that will be a jury watch. Make sure you all follow me on Twitter. I definitely try to make sure to tweet out everything I know and everything that, especially if I'm going live, I'll tweet out what I'm going live with. Follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description, but it's also it's Trial Junkie. It's at Trial Junkie Cole on Twitter. I'll try to put web updates on the website too. Trialjunkie.online. And with that, I'll say I'll see you all on Monday. So we have a little bit more erranding to go. See you all Monday. Have a good one.